Most music videos today look like TikToks with a budget. Flashy edits, auto-tuned vocals and whatever it takes to stop you from clicking away. But there is another side. Videos that climb the charts by steering drama. The tactic worked for a lot of mainstream artists. But what happens when they go too far? Too controversial and too dark. They don't just get banned, they get exiled to YouTube's shadow realm. So I went on a rabbit hole and dug up the most disturbing music videos ever made. The kind that is buried on the weirdest corners of the internet. This iceberg will get progressively more unsettling as we descend. Some of this video went viral by accident. Some were banned, others were never meant to be seen in the first place, I think. We'll start with the stuff that gave you nightmares as a kid, but by the end we'll be neck deep into some very messed up videos that even used real life footage. And yes, this chart has a few rules. We will focus strictly on the video themselves. We are not analyzing the songs, just what's happening on the screen. I am Snorky, the YouTuber you can't find if you don't type Iceberg next to my name for whatever obscure reason. And after tackling disturbing songs and album covers, it's finally time to finish the trilogy. This is the most disturbing videos Iceberg chart explained. So let's dive in and don't say I didn't warn you. Layer 1. Songs that traumatize you as a kid. These are the music videos you might see on TV as a kid. Harmless at first glance, but something about them just felt wrong. Maybe it was the weird visuals, maybe it was the tone. Either way, they stuck with you, and not in a good way. Kids by MGMT. You know this song, you probably vibed to it and heard it on the radio. Maybe you even consider this as a feel-good track. The song has a catchy upbeat synth melody that sharply contrasts what is happening on the screen, making it feel a bit off in a very uncomfortable way. The video starts with a toddler in a crib, and this shouldn't be disturbing at all, but who in the right mind thought it would be a good idea to surround the kid with some monsters that look like from an 80s horror movie? As the video progresses, the kid starts seeing these horrific, abstract creatures with every step he takes. Creatures that look like they crawled straight off a fever dream. And the toddler is the only one who sees these monsters. Although the website of the band told no children were harmed in making of this video, honestly that kid looks genuinely terrified, even if the disclaimer says otherwise. Behind this upbeat sound, Kids is really about losing innocence, growing up too fast and being chased by fears. It's far darker than it seems at first look, and if I had to guess, based on the raw panic in his eyes, this kid is either in therapy for life or he is completely immune to fear now. Ariel's System of a Down. We could argue that my musical library is stuck in the 2000s, but we need to continue with a hit that occupied every heavy metal Facebook group in the early 2000s. And yes, I'm that old. Like a lot of us, my first step into heavy metal was by discovering System of a Down. Among their huge library of unforgettable songs lies Ariel's. It starts with a melancholic intro, haunting vocals and philosophical lyrics often seen in their songs. But the thing that always made me uncomfortable wasn't the lyrics of this song, but it was the music video. There is an eerie calmness to it, with its muted and dusty tones. Everything feels off in a way it's hard to describe. You got this strange alien-faced child who is paraded around like he's in a show, thrown into press conferences. Mics were shoved in his face, all while adults cheer him on. It feels less like a music video and more like a critique of how to exploit people for entertainment. And the worst part is, the kid starts to believe in it. It's obvious that it's a reflection of the times we live in, media exploitation, loss of innocence, turning people into circus attractions for clout. The vibe feels almost like a twisted circus. A child dreaming of fame only to find himself trapped in a world that never saw him as a human to begin with. He imagines what life would be after achieving fame, but even in his imagination, things don't go as planned. At one point, another child questions him, reminding him that he still doesn't really fit in. It ties perfectly with the lyrics. When you lose small mind, you free your life. When you free your life, eternal prize. It feels almost like a dream sequence. As a kid, I didn't realize it was CGI, and I thought this alien-faced kid was real. Turns out it was Shavo all along, digitally morphed, but it still gave me nightmares. It's surreal and unsettling, but not so much as the next entry. The Bad Touch by Bloodhound Gang. How edgy were the early 2000s? Honestly, there were no limits. Some people call it the peak of civilization, others not so much. But one thing for sure, this song will get cancelled in seconds today. We can argue that this song is dumb, juvenile and perhaps also a bit aggressive with its lyrics and themes. But I won't argue with you that this song is catchy as hell. It blends Eurodance style synths and a funky bassline. Now the music video is exactly what you would expect if you let monkeys loose in Paris. The monkeys contrasting against the European city backdrop, making them look even more absurd. The band members who are dressed as these monkeys were running around, kidnapping people and just being an absolute nuisance to society. And this is probably the closest you would get if Jackass would have a music video. If this is disturbing or provocative is something else. But despite its provocative style, this song was very mainstream. Still, layer 1 of this Iceberg needs something like this. It's provocative and offensive, but it still managed to land in the mainstream. What really bothers me is how nobody stopped me as a kid from singing this song. But we're just getting started. While covering the disturbing songs Iceberg chart, we covered this entry also, and I said that this puppet needs an entry only about him. And here we are. Now we are covering music videos, and the spotlight shines upon his very uncanny face. Interpol is an American post-punk revival band from New York City that started in 1997. The song Evil is moody, cold and emotionally distant, with cryptic lyrics, haunting bassline and vocals that feel detached yet quite intense. Especially if you know the fact that this song is based on Rosemary and her husband Fred West, who are one of the most infamous serial killers in UK history. To not repeat myself, I covered this topic on that chart, because today's focus is on the video. And the highlight is definitely this hyper-realistic animatronic puppet with its uncanny, disturbingly human puppet face, portraying a car crash survivor being wheeled through a hospital. The visuals are those who are leaving a lasting impact. The band never explicitly explained the video's story, but it's widely interpreted as a metaphor for surviving tragedy, but I don't know, somehow his expressions are making me uncomfortable. That face alone haunted me for days like the singer of the next century. Tunak Tun Deller Mandy. First of all, no, this entry is not a joke. This is an indie pop song by an Indian artist called Mandy, released in 1998. Many people criticize his music videos, mostly because he would use beautiful women in them. So he wanted to prove them wrong with a very special music video. The lyrics are a reference to the sound made by a tambi, a traditional music instrument from the Punjab region. What's interesting about this music video is that this is the first video in India who used chroma technology, or simply to put it, a green screen. So how did they use this technology? Well, in a very over-the-top way. Backgrounds range from outer space, digital firestorms, lightning to strange fantasy landscapes. And in front of they is Deller and only Deller. I would say that the disturbing part of this entry is how eerily hypnotic all of this is. The looping dances, the shifting digital landscapes, the four identical versions of Mandy, each staring at the camera with an unblinking smile. It's like a Bollywood fever dream created by an AI with no sense of human behavior. It's digital surrealism wrapped in a music video. I don't have anything to add here. Besides, the cost of filming this video was around $1.5 million in today's money. And do with this info what you want. I Stay Away, Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains is a band that has always been close to my heart. When people talk about them, they will usually focus on the lyrics, songs about addiction, depression, and death. There is a heavy darkness that follows their music, especially considering how their lead singer's story ended. I don't know how many of you are still here from my days where I covered games, but back in the day I used to ramble a lot how I hate clay animation, how it looks so uncanny and unnatural to me. Well, somebody decided to be the perfect way to bring this song to life was by using exactly that technique. The video is about how the band travels to a circus on a bus, and along with them is a sinister looking boy holding a jar of flies. When they arrive at the circus, the boy releases the flies that causes chaos to the animals and performers. The video itself is set in an odd looking carnival world, and it's filled with grotesque figures, hollow-eyed clowns, decaying puppets, and distorted humans that look like they are falling apart from the inside. Overall, the tone of the music video is like it's decaying. Feels like a nightmare version of a children's show. And maybe as a kid you may have been drawn to this style, but before you know, you will see how something is terribly wrong here. The carnival characters especially feel like metaphors for people stuck in cycles they can't escape. It's the illusion of happiness. Happy on the outside, rotting deep inside, with a song that only amplifies the discomfort in a way it's hard to forget. It's beautiful, but also hollow and sad. I also wanna add, if you didn't know, that the director of this was called Nick Duncan, who was also known for animating the short film Junkie's Christmas. But now let's switch from an artistic brilliance to an artistic nightmare. Manophobia, Dead Mouse. Now I know the first layer is all about traumatizing songs from our childhood that somehow made it into the mainstream. But this horrified me. I swear I could feel a brain aneurysm forming while watching it. It's like brain rot content turned into a music video. The video for Monophobia dropped on Dead Mouse YouTube channel in July of 2018. It was actually filmed around his mansion in Campbellville, Ontario, and it's basically digital insanity. Nothing is making any sense. You got floating dogs, twerking lizard men, toilets full of fish, and CGI abominations wearing mouse heads. The colors are bright and cheerful, sure, but the complete lack of narrative or logic turns the whole thing into a fever dream from hell. I could try to tell you that these characters represent the soul of Gen Z trapped in purgatory, avoiding real life by escaping into the internet, but let's be honest, that's complete nonsense and I just made that up. The truth is that this video is overstimulating, absurd, and simply uncomfortable. I feel like every day passing by we drift further for what makes us human, and I hate everything about it. I hope you understand why this is so disturbing to me. And trust me, this is only the tip of the iceberg. So let's move into murkier waters where things get dark. Layer 2. Hidden darkness in mainstream. These videos were everywhere, from regular TV to MTV. Still very much mainstream, but noticeably darker than the previous layer. You immediately feel the shift in tone and just how disturbing things are starting to get. Sonne by Rammstein. Rammstein is one of those bands you either love or hate, but there is no denying they build a massive global audience, despite their language barrier. Vielleicht keine Barriere, aber wir können uns alle einig sein, dass die deutsche Sprache nicht so gerade einfach ist. Am I right? And songs like Engel, America, Du hast have broken all in the mainstream, with Sonne alone sitting on YouTube with 400 million views. Even if you don't understand a word of German, the visuals do all the talking in this case. Sonne absolutely deserves a spot on this list, because it takes a classic fairy tale and turns it into a joke-fueled nightmare. The music video has the quality of a short, high production combined with heavy symbolism, and a tone that's grim, industrial and almost suffocating, dominated by dark, muted tones. The band plays the Seven Dwarfs. The Snow White is a tall, black-haired girl with full dominatrix energy. The dwarves mine obsessively to bring her gifts to make her happy, because if they don't bring gifts, they would be punished. As she spirals out of control, she becomes more aggressive, more unhinged, Until they discover a glowing gold dust, Snow White slowly becomes addicted to this special dust, which can represent a lot of things, but I think you get the reference. Eventually, she overdoses. The final scene shows the dwarf carrying her cold, lifeless body to a mountaintop as snow begins to fall. That contrast between elegant orchestral music and brutal imagery is exactly what makes this video disturbing. It's a twisted parable about addiction, submission and power. They live it with Rammstein's signature intensity, inspired by a fairy tale we all grew up with. Or were you more into slasher movies as a kid? Because the next entry is just about that. 𝒙𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆𝒅 by Rob Zombie. This one is for the older generations still young at their hearts. Rob Zombie is the name that carries a cult legacy across music, films and art. 𝒙𝒂𝒊 was released in 1998 as the lead singer for the album Hellbilly Deluxe. Since its release, it became one of Rob's most recognizable songs, but almost every track featured on that album became iconic over the years. For the kids growing up on MTV, this was the first taste of horror. The video of 𝒙𝒂𝒊 throws you into a warped, psychedelic hayride with Rob Zombie. The visuals are a chaotic blend of horror history and pop culture. You will see snippets of Dr. Jekyll and Hyde, the killer robot from the Phantom Creeps, and even distorted home footage from 1950s Family. The video itself doesn't follow any plot, it's all about flickering edits and twitchy imagery paired with rotting visuals and saturated colors. It blends parts of nostalgia, horror and satire. The video itself received heavy rotations on MTV, becoming so iconic it's tied to the album's success. It's a weird and loud song that is paired with a music video that looks like a grindhouse movie possessed by a Halloween mixtape. You wouldn't expect less from Rob Zombie. Fun fact, despite the song's name, the car in the video isn't the 𝒙𝒂𝒊 as many think, it's actually the Monster Couch, a hot rod from the classic TV show The Monsters. And my introduction to this song was quite unique, because the first time I heard this song was on the PlayStation 1, as I played the game Sledgestorm, because the game featured a remixed version of the song 𝒙𝒂𝒊. Just a great memory. Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden. By the time Black Hole Sun dropped in 1994, grunge was already a cultural phenomenon, and Soundgarden was at the forefront alongside bands like Nirvana, Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains. The song we cover today was written by Chris Cornell, and it wasn't born from deep symbolism, as he literally misheard something on the radio talking about something about the black hole sun, and it simply sounded cool to him. And this one random phrase he heard on a radio actually became the staple of this band. Musically, Black Hole Sun is dreamy, hypnotic and melancholic, a haunting lullaby with wrapped guitars and cryptic lyrics that will stuck with you long after you turn off the song. But the music video, that's where things get interesting. Set in a world that looks like a picture-perfect American suburb, dominated by colorful pastel colors, you will see the perfect trim lawns and happy families. It seems like a throwback to the perfect nuclear family. But while the spot is about people doing mundane things, the faces of the people start to warp into exaggerated plastic rims. White, unnatural, and they almost seem like masks. As the song progresses, this somewhat normal world slowly falls apart. People start to melt and got sucked into this black hole sun. It's hard to pinpoint what's the song and video about. It feels like a critique of the fake suburban perfection, consumerism and moral decay. A warning that beneath every perfect lawn and forced smile lies something much darker. The surreal visuals combined with the haunting melody makes it one of the most unsettling mainstream rock videos of all time. It aired constantly on MTV and it's burned into many brains of anyone who grew up in the 90s. If you're wondering of how legendary this track really is, Rolling Stones rated Black Hole Sun number 368 on their list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. It's beautiful, it's twisted, and deeply uncomfortable. The Repentless Trilogy by Slayer. After thrashing for more than 3 decades, Slayer made a reputation for fast riffs, lyrics about death, cult and the Lord and the Savior. And the death of the guitarist Jeff nearly ended Slayer, and it left a massive hole in the metal community. Jeff wasn't just a legendary riff master, he also co-wrote some of Slayer's most iconic songs. Continuing without him wasn't easy, but when Gary Holt from Exodus stepped in, the band proved that Slayer was far from finished. The album crushed the charts, but also it spawned one of the most brutal music videos trilogies of all time. It's like Lord of the Rings for metal music videos. The trilogy includes 𝑬𝒙𝒑𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆𝒅, Repentless, and Pride and Prejudice, starting with Danny Trejo, Jorma Taccone, and even Tony Moran, the original Michael Myers, and many more interesting characters. The video itself is soaked in blood, fire and pure chaos. The story is told like a movie, with surprisingly good cinematic quality and pacing. The trilogy follows a veteran who snaps, and goes on a violent vengeance path. In 𝑬𝒙𝒑𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆𝒅 with begins mid-air with a murder, and then spirals down into rampage. The second video, Repentless, throws us into a maximum security prison riot, where the protagonist cuts through bodies in slow motion like a slasher villain, and in the final video, the tone shifts to a snowy forest with a cold and quiet atmosphere. Before the last plot twist happens, the band on the other hand was in the midst of all of that, performing in the middle of riots, surrounded by fire, blood and death, becoming part of the destruction they always sung about. Why this music video deserves a place on this iceberg? Well, because of the sheer level of violence, gore and raw vengeance is something you never expected to see on YouTube. I would love to explain you all the grisly details that happened in that trilogy, but YouTube doesn't love when I start explaining things. And because the themes and topics of the video will dive more darker as we go, I hope you smashed that like button and left a comment, as it does help a lot, as usually darker content do not perform so well with the algorithm. So thank you, and let's go back to the trilogy. It's a perfect visual representation of Slayer's core themes: anger, betrayal, vengeance and punishment. There is no metaphors, nor dream logic, just graphic, grounded, face-to-face brutality that feels real. And at the end it's combined with Slayer's signature riffs you all love. Even if you're not a fan of Slayer, I would recommend you to check out this trilogy, and every time I mention Slayer in my video is a win for me. But let's move from brutal violence to body horror. Sheena is a Parasite by The Horrors. Sheena is a Parasite is a debut single by an English rock band The Horrors, released in April 2006 by Log Records. It's a quite short track, clocking in under 2 minutes, and it's pure visceral chaos. Directed by Chris Cunningham, known for his work with Aphex Twin. The video starts with the actress Samantha Morton in an empty dark room. Despite the video being shot on a low budget, this is a showcase that sometimes money isn't important when creativity is there. At first you will see Samantha dancing violently, convulsing, with her dress flowing unnaturally in every direction, as if she is being attacked by an invisible force or a parasite. And before you know, her organ starts to explode in a grotesque way. Her entire body becomes a twitching parasitic nightmare. It's a short hitting track, and the video truly reflects it. Is this a critic of all the parasites in our lives, the people, system or expectations that drain our energy for their own gain? It's hard to tell. It leads heavily into body horror with hyper lighting and warp motion effects. And if a video gets banned from MTV, that's usually a pretty good sign that this video deserves a spot here. But if this entry didn't make you puke, I promise that the next one will. Hot Chocolate plus Polar Bear Rug by Super Wild Brothers. This entry isn't just weird, it's unsettling, grotesque and completely unhinged in a way that makes your brain short-circuit trying to keep up. The video opens up with a woman giving birth. The disgusting part is she's giving birth to a fully grown black man. No fancy stylization, just a slippery, fully naked man crawling out from her legs onto a cold floor, like it's the most normal thing in the world. And then, without missing a beat, she simply starts to pump out people out of her like there is no tomorrow. And the worst thing is that the insanity doesn't stop there, and the whole video is about those people laying on the floor and dancing, but then comes the plot twist, as two of those newborn men wandered around confused, smeared in birth fluids, and combined with an unbiblical chord run around the town. Because, I don't know, I would try to interpret what is this video about. Maybe it's about rebirth, or how society treats identity as a fully formed product. And the video is just uncanny and definitely gross. So let's talk about something much more surreal. Everything you do is a balloon. Boards of Canada. I want to end layer 2 with something quite unusual. The music video doesn't feature any blood, or even jump scares. The music video is relaxing, evoking nostalgic feelings, just a black and white video of children playing and laughing on an empty suburban street. It almost looks like a 1950s home tape. After further research, I have discovered this is a 1963 safety movie called One Got Fat. It has that old grainy feel to it, and it feels almost like dreamlike, but somehow it feels deeply wrong. Perhaps because of the kids who are wearing exaggerated masks of monkeys with black eyes. The footage combined with the music really gives a hollow and unsettling vibe. How the band used lo-fi analog synth texture, it creates a feeling that is truly hard to explain. This is the perfect example of liminal horror, that uneasy space between comfort and dread. It's about how the past can rot in your mind, or how innocence can feel corrupted even when nothing explicit happened. The video doesn't try to scare you in a traditional sense, and that's arguably more powerful. And yes, it even landed on my playlist, and I listened to this track more than I like to admit. Layer 3. You clicked out of curiosity. You stayed for the nightmares. This is where things stop being quirky and start getting genuinely uncomfortable. These aren't just weird videos. They're the kind of video that will stuck in your head after you click off this video. Right Now by Korn. Let's kick off this layer with one of the rawest bands in nu metal history, Korn. Known for turning trauma and tragedy into music, Korn's sound is almost like a window into the frontman's darkest memories. There is one song that pushed Jonathan to his limits. He had an emotional breakdown during the recording of the song. The song's name is Daddy, and it's all covered in this video. But this one is about something else, something way more graphic. At least in the visual department. Nobody expected Korn to drop a music video as disgusting and disturbing as Right Now. The plot twist here is, they didn't expect it either. The video was created and chosen through our online fan contest. While the original winning submission didn't air, the version that did end up getting heavy rotations on MTV was a grotesque animated short inspired by Lloyd's Lunchbox, a shock cartoon series infamous for its graphic body horror. I never heard about that show, to be honest, but I can confirm you after looking into it, it's so gross it will make you sick. The video is about a balloon-headed, mentally unstable character rotting in a filthy room, which does sound quite familiar, am I right? Now the thing that makes this video disturbing is that the character starts to mutilate himself in very creative ways. Like ripping off fingernails, eating pus, sneezing his own lungs, among many other things. It ends with his skull being yanked out as he slams a door with a string tied to his teeth. And trust me, that's not even the worst part. The video can only be described as a collection of things you shouldn't do to yourself. The art style is crude, comic-like and exaggerated, but it's just detailed enough to make your skin crawl. The whole thing is like I'm watching a mental breakdown rendered in a cartoon form. There is no poetic metaphor here, no deep symbolism, but the video for Right Now takes it a step further. It's unhinged and filthy and bold enough to make you physically uncomfortable. I Think You Freaky Die Antwoord. Die Antwoord is a South African rap group with a pretty disturbing background, one we might dive into someday. Their track released in 2012, and it's one of the most iconic and visually striking pieces they ever produced, and it's also one of the most disturbing if you actually look past the surface. At first it just feels weird, and how the sound is combined with the video truly unravels into something unique. The duo is known for its bizarre, provocative ways, and this video is just that. One that makes you uncomfortable, and somehow you still can't look away. It's shot in a stark black and white style. It feels like a freak show combined with a fashion show. The duo claims that this video is all about celebrating outsiders and freaks, but the line between tribute and exploitation is very thin here. In the video, besides the interesting looking people in it, you will also see rats crawling over babies and 𝒙𝒑𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆𝒅 with black eyes coming out of water, which is actually a very interesting shot. But the weird dancing, the decaying sets, the twitchy body language is just weird, and it's really hard to describe what vibes it sends. There is no logic to the video, it's chaotic and something feels very wrong. Perhaps the allegations that pop out about the SA against their own adopted son makes this video even darker. It gives an exploitative and predatory vibe. Also, this video was co-directed by Roger Bellin, a South African-American photographer famous for his disturbing, surreal and grim portraits of mental illness, poverty and decay. His influence gives this video its fine art horror aesthetic, so perhaps we can call it aesthetic horror, but it can't compare to the next one. Presence by Tool. So let's talk about Tool. You know what they say about surprise sex? It's great until you are present, and this video is equally traumatizing. It's directed by the band itself, and the video is a stop-motion nightmare. It was removed from the MTV playlist due to its disturbing content. The video follows a broken, puppet-like humanoid trapped in a dark room filled with strange and unsettling figures. There is a particular large black figure that repeatedly appears, paralyzing and abusing this main character. At one point, the black figure cuts off the doll's leg and hangs them out of his reach, and by the end of this video, the puppet begins to mimic the abuse, before it's revealed that he was trapped in a cabinet the entire time, almost like a toy trapped in a box. Its dark and grimy brownish color palette gives a very suffocating vibe to the video. The visual language is abstract, but the tone is unmistakable. It's fear, guilt, shame and control. If you were a kid and stumbled on this somehow on MTV before it was banned, there is a good chance it will stuck with you for life. And you definitely had to do some therapy because of it. And yet it's still considered one of Tool's most artistically respected works. The video doesn't shock you with gore, it shocks you with psychological weight. That's why it belongs on layer 3, because disturbing music videos don't always scream to get attention. Sometimes they whisper things you wish you never heard of, unlike the next entry. A Little Piece of Heaven, 𝒙𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆𝒅. A Little Piece of Heaven could be considered a magnum opus written by drummer The Rev, who tragically passed away on December 28, 2009, a very regarded member of the ultra-popular metal band 𝒙𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆𝒅. This song is a fan favorite and marks one of the most popular songs, but also the one with the most interesting music video. They chosen a cartoon style and the tone is, as you expected, dark and gritty. And if you ever wondered what would happen if Tim Burton directed a music video about this music video is the closest you can get. The music is almost like an opera, especially considering that the video clocks around 8 minutes. It follows the story of a guy with an emo haircut who started to become obsessed with a girl he couldn't get. This love turned into obsession, and obsession led to madness. He couldn't accept rejection, so he made sure she could never leave. He proceeded to take her life, then take her apart, literally, and if this wasn't disturbing enough, he started to make love to her before prepping a meal. And yeah, it really goes to the full 9 yards if you catch my drift here. It's an animated love god story at its finest. The plot twist of the story is when she comes back from the dead and wants to punish him for all the deeds he has done to her. It's a toxic relationship between two undead people. It's romantic in the most messed up way possible. There is stabbing, dismemberment, eating hearts, and even a scene where the protagonist kills a priest during their undead wedding, and that needs to count for something. The video is gory, absurd and hyper stylized. It's an iconic song that sits at 200 million views on YouTube, and which speaks volumes on how popular this video is. Also, Rev not only wrote this song, He also performed the original demo vocals. Even in the final version, his voice is layered alongside Mr. Shadow's, giving it a haunting theatrical edge. 𝒙𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆𝒅. How do you describe horror? What triggers your fears and make you really uncomfortable? 𝒙𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆𝒅 feels like a bootleg snuff movie you shouldn't find at your local VHS store. Like you stumble upon something forbidden that needs to be stashed away from the public, and yet it landed in your hands. The video opens up with a weird looking man, almost like from a 1970s cult, staring with a deadly gaze at the camera. He's saying something cryptic. He's welcoming you to a local family massage business. Then the camera slowly zooms in into a dark minimalistic room with two barely clothed people, one standing in the corner, other laying face down. Just as the distorted synths and glitchy beat kicks in, the two figures begin to twitch and convulse in very unnatural ways. It's not just dancing, it feels like something is possessing them. Then you are dragged into another room, and you're thinking you landed in the middle of a ritual. There are two masked people on their knees. This isn't horror in a traditional sense. 𝒙𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆𝒅 feels more like a corrupted memory rendered in VHS static and body horror. If you ever seen the VHS movie series, you'll get the vibe. It's raw and unnerving. The music itself slaps. It sounds like something ripped straight from Hotline Miami. The VHS texture, the glitchy aesthetic, the weird looking people dancing around and convulsing, plus the weird analog lighting makes everything feel cursed. It's weird enough to make you feel that you stumbled in the wrong side of YouTube. I still don't know what the family business was supposed to mean, but the fact that everybody is completely naked is way more disturbing than it should be. But it's cool how YouTube lets this be on their platform. But then again, my videos got demonetized and banned to the shadow realm if I just say a few bad words. I really hate this platform. Endless Teeth Genghis Throne. Endless Teeth is tied to a story of a very traumatized rabbit chased by a green monster. The rabbit's facial expression is enough, I think, to get you a hint of how weird this one is. It opens like an animated indie art movie. The video is peaceful and colorful, but as soon as the music starts to hit and the green monster started to chase the poor rabbit, the whole package, the video and the music, feel hypnotic, like a brainwashing ritual. The plot twist of the story is that the rabbit is transformed into a menacing version of himself and proceeded to beat the living hell out of the monster. At first I didn't know if I should include this entry at all, but somehow I think that this collage type of horror deserves to be on the list, because it's quite unique. But the truly explicit things are coming, I'm promising. 𝒙𝒐𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆𝒅. How would you describe a trip to someone? I think the video of 𝒙𝒐𝒍𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆𝒅 would be a great example. The video itself looks like a love child between Rick and Morty and a very unknown series called Ugly Americans. An immensely underrated show you need to check out. The story of this video is set in an alien world, so it's an intergalactic trip, but don't let the cartoon vibe fool you. This is pure chaos, with the side dish being gore. That's why it landed on this list. The story is about tri-people who bash each other's heads in the most brutal ways possible. Heads explode, guts fly and eyes pop out, but it's all wrapped in soft and dreamy colors. That makes it feel even more wrong. All combined with groovy music, and the term we should use here is, I think, psychedelic rock. Think like Black Sabbath without heavy riffs. Even if you're witnessing brutal events, it's somehow easy to zone out. The surreal atmosphere combined with the gore made it perfect for this entry, but the next one is much more darker. Quote unquote Mr. Bungle. I would be lying if this video isn't similar to the next one, but where the previous one is hypnotizing you, this one is more like a bad trip that won't end, just dragging you deeper into the chaos. There are floating bodies hanging from meat hooks. Also a reason why MTV refused to air it, but Mr. Bungle is known for its schizophrenic style, and this video is the perfect example for it. Men in bondage masks, creepy clowns, puppet-like creatures, and a shaky camera that refuses to focus. It really grinds my gear, and I still don't have any clue what's happening. It feels like one of those dreams where you can't wake up and things are just happening. The whole thing is grimy, low-lit and twitchy, and somehow soaked in a very uncomfortable energy, and the song itself is constantly shifting between funk, thrash, circus jazz and God knows what else. It's unpredictable on purpose, disorienting we could say, but not nearly disgusting as the next one. Eat My Rotten Flesh by 𝒙𝒑𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆𝒅. Okay, I know we are still at layer 3 and this entry could be easily pushed one layer deeper because of all the blasphemous and filthy things done in the video, but let me explain you the video in the most simplest way I can. If you grew up in the old days of YouTube and stumble upon a show called Happy Tree Friends, a bunch of happy woodland creatures doing very messed up stuff to their friends, well, this video is that, but just on steroids. The name 𝒙𝒑𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒆𝒅 sounds ridiculous, but it sets the tone for the song and the character. It's so not safe for work that there isn't almost one single scene I can show you without blurring the screen. On one hand, yeah, it's animated, so you might think, hey, it's not real, not a big deal, but think twice. On the other hand, the animation gives the creators total freedom to push every visual boundary there is. The video follows what I can only describe as a grotesque wolf creature and a man-bear-pig hybrid or something, doing very awful things to each other and other characters. There is vomiting, unholy amounts of bodily fluids, and household tools used in ways no one should ever think about. The entire video is just chaotic, it bombards you with nastiness, not giving you enough time to process what the hell you're even watching. The video is followed by something I would call low effort horrorcore rap. If this is your kind of music, I really don't wanna know what you're else into. It's actually absurd that somebody made this, but because of all the disgusting things done in the video, I needed to include it. Things like this are definitely disturbing, and this is just a taste of what's coming. But as we go deeper, I try to find more obscure stuff, and some, like I said, were based on real events. We still have a long way ahead of us.